Today I'm going to talk about some preventative injury and some strengthening exercises specifically for golf and baseball. I obviously cannot teach you how to hit the ball or throw the ball well, but I can help you guys with some preventative injury and some rotational movements. Golf and baseball are very different from one another, but what they have in common is rotational movements, and they have a lot of the same injuries, shoulder injuries, lower back injuries, sometimes ACL, MCL, wrist issues. So I'm going to try to teach you guys some exercises to help prevent those injuries, and also some exercises to strengthen the muscles around your shoulders, your hips, and some stretches for your wrist and strengthening exercises for your wrist as well. So shoulders is the most common one. Obviously, with a lot of throwing motions, with a lot of rotation, the shoulder has a lot of insertion points for the muscles on your shoulder. So the one thing is, most of us never fully use the full range of motion of our shoulders on a regular day-to-day basis. So whenever your capacity is less than the load, that's when you're going to have injury. You have muscle imbalances. If you're using one part of muscle in your shoulder a lot and you're not using those smaller muscles, that's when one of those tears, that's when one of those gets inflamed. That's where we get that pain from. So you do your general arm circles to warm your arms up. That's a really common and great exercise. However, the first thing I wanted to show you is if you make that range of motion bigger, and also if you point your hands down, I know that little cue doesn't seem like much, but it really fires up this part of your muscle on top. And make sure you're using both directions as well. The other thing that I like to do is get into the habit of using the full range of motion so that your body gets used to that. So I like to make a fist, or I sometimes like to even grab a tennis ball so that way I can actively squeeze on that. So you're going to start with your arm down by your side and try to use the entire range of motion. Now you can see I'm already turning my body. That means I'm compensating, okay? So you don't want to do that. So again, if I'm coming from this direction, coming up, internally rotating, and again, I'm squeezing this ball as hard as I can the whole time. You want your armpit out. And again, you can see I'm compensating, right? I'm already starting to turn my body. So to keep yourself honest, one thing that you can do while you're learning this is to use the wall, okay? So if I'm doing that same exercise, I come up and around. Now see, I can't do that without moving my body around. So I would step away, because that's my range of motion, and then come around. And your goal is to get closer and closer and closer to that wall so that you can use the entire range of motion of your shoulders. So few of us do that it's not even funny. And that's why so many people have so many shoulder issues, is because we have so many muscles in there that we never use. And our bodies get used to compensating and relying on the same muscles that we've used forever, that we never wake up those other muscles. Another exercise that I like to do that kind of goes along with that, with the stretch, is I like to get a wider stance, open up your chest. So this is chest, shoulders, all of that. And you want to think about having your thumb down and this part of your palm up. So you're reaching toward the back wall. And those little cues are the difference between kind of standing here with your arms open and actually opening up your chest, opening up your shoulders. Another shoulder stretch that all of us have done since the beginning of time, which is a great stretch for a reason, it's a classic for a reason, is just pulling your arm across. Now again, with any stretch, you can just kind of do it. If you're not thinking about the muscle that you're stretching, if you're not actively pulling, if you're not comfortably uncomfortable, what are you even doing it for? You should be a little uncomfortable. You should never be in pain with a stretch, but you should be uncomfortable. You know, you shouldn't be just kind of hanging out. You shouldn't even be able to really have a big conversation. It should almost make you a little bit uncomfortable, or you feel a little out of breath. So for me, I like that locked out arm version. And again, you're thinking about bringing your bicep to your throat, okay? You can do the bent arm version if you want. Again, to keep yourself honest, you could use the floor to do the same thing, where you just thread your arm through and try to sit back on your heels. And again, I'm not going to lay all the way down because y'all can't hear me, but you can use the floor to keep you honest, just like you were using the wall over there, to really deepen the stretch and do it correctly. The other thing is, most people, once you do this, you're doing that tricep stretch as well. When I do the tricep stretch, I like to go ahead and bend over. It gives you that side stretch, back stretch at the same time, just a little kind of tip if you want to deepen that particular stretch. The other thing that is a really good one for your scapula, again, I like the ball. You can make a fist, but make sure that you're actively squeezing your hand if you don't have a ball, or you could even use one of these light weights we have in here. I mean, it's nice now that we have the lighter weights, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds, something like that, something really light, and just protract and retract the scapula. And again, try to think about keeping that torso square. You don't want to move that. Just thinking about your scapula and warming up those muscles. You can also do a circle. You can do, your clockwise and counterclockwise. As you can see, that's even more difficult for me. But I'm trying to hit the full range of what I can do. And see, you can see I'm saying, I'm wanting to do this. Try not to do that. Keep your shoulders down and think about actually using those muscles in there, because we don't use that full range of motion, and this is something that's going to help us prevent injury. Okay, so the other thing that is a pretty universal injury is lower back injury. Lower back injury can come from a weak core. Lower back injury can come from problems in your hips. Lower back injury can come from your knees, from your ankles. It can come from so many different areas because it's all a kinetic chain and it's all connected, that it can come from anywhere. However, one thing that's, again, just like our shoulders, because we have such a big range of motion there, you have a big range of motion in your hips. And again, so many of us cannot use our full range of motion in our hips. Our hips don't even work how they're supposed to work. So therefore, almost all of us have an injury waiting somewhere down the road to manifest in either our knees or our back. And it, not always, but it probably starts with the hips, if I had to bet. So I'm going to show you same thing like I did with the shoulders, trying to think about using the full range of motion in your hips. So I'm going to start on all fours, arms under your shoulders, knees under your hips. I'm going to bring the knee forward and then out, and then try to bring it all the way around. Now see, you can see I'm already tipping my body. I'm already trying to cheat just like I did on the shoulders. So again, if I want to use the floor to keep me honest like I had using the wall keeping me honest, I'm gonna take off my hat here. I'm gonna kind of raise up just so that y'all can hear me, but you want to lay completely prone for this, okay? So again, I'm gonna bring my hip and I'm gonna try to bring it all the way up. You guys, my glute is screaming right now, okay? Because we're not used to using this range of motion. So you wanna try to hover right above. This is the money spot right here, okay? So you can do it standing up, you can do it here, but you don't want to cheat. I also would recommend if it is more comfortable on all fours, put a plate on your back, put a light weight on your back, because if it falls off, you know you were cheating, okay? You can also, just like when you're doing shoulders, you do the internal rotation for a warm-up. That's something that I think none of us really think about a whole lot with our hips, but you could do the same thing with your hips. The first stretch is your 90-90 stretch. So 90-90 because my legs are at 90-90. And you can stretch forward. That's kind of like pigeon exercise or stretch that a lot of us do. But while you're in that position, you can go ahead and internally rotate your hip. Now again, you're thinking, oh, this is knees. Well, is this stretch an elbow exercise? Not really. We can all feel it in our shoulders. So the goal here would be to do about 3 sets of 10 seconds. I'm telling you, that's enough. That's as far as I can go. bringing up my back heel to internally rotate. Okay, you can do the same thing for external rotation. So I'm just gonna lean over and again, try to hold that up. It's pretty pathetic that that's as high as I can go, but 3 sets of 10 seconds. You can also, and I'm not gonna let me move my little pack here for the microphone he's got on me, but again, lay flat on your back and just rotate to each side as well. Again, this is all about your hips, not really your knees. Similar to, again, we use every range of motion here and we know it comes from our shoulders, but we don't think about those little differences in our hips and actually using those muscles. And I'm already, my glute is like so tight just from doing those little half demonstrations for you guys. The other thing is some more classic stretches. Cat cow or cat camel, or it's got like a dozen different names, but it's a great one for a reason. You want to bring your hips down, head up, take a deep breath in, and then breathe out. And you want to think about trying to get the middle of your spine to the ceiling. 5 to 10 reps is probably great for that. The other thing, if that's way too easy and you have good range of motion in there, that's another one that you could probably put that resistance band, just like we did for our push-up demonstration. Put the resistance band on your back and use that to resist against it to make it even harder. Child's pose, good old child's pose is that for a reason. Again, I think some people think that's a resting pose. It's not. You want to think about inching your fingertips forward after you go on your hips. That is a great lower back stretch. The other thing I like to do is bring your left hand to the left, put your right hand on top. I can feel that from my fingertips all the way to my lower back, depending on what side you're stretching towards. The same thing. On this particular one, I can feel that all the way from my pinky all the way to my rear end. So don't just kind of, again, plop down. In any of these stretches, if you're just hanging out, you're not really doing much for yourself. The other stretch is the world's greatest stretch. So just do a little lunge stance here, right hand down, left hand up. And again, that's such a good for your torso, for your back, even gets that outer glute area, each side. So I understand that some of these are probably not realistic stretches to do when you're out on the golf course. If you're at the turn and your back is killing you, you don't really want to plop down and do a bunch of stretches in the grass. So one thing that you can do, I just brought a couple golf clubs in just to show you this, because this was a great stretch that I found in my research. And I tried it and I was like, oh, that feels really wonderful. Just find 2 clubs of a similar length. Straight arms, straight back, and actively push down. Again, if you're just kind of hanging out, you feel a little bit of a stretch, but if you're actively pushing down, you can really feel that stretch in your lower back and in your glute hamstrings area, okay? So if you're feeling kind of tight, that would be a great one to do while you're out on the course. Also, if your hips are kind of bothering you or your lower back is kind of bothering you, you don't have to do that full range of motion, get down on the ground or even do it standing up. You can always just do the old open and closing of your hip. Loosen everything up before you even get started, okay? This would just be an easier version of that. But again, I encourage y'all to try some of those hip moves that I was doing earlier. All right, so now I want to show you a couple of exercises specifically for shoulder stabilization. Again, activating those smaller muscles in your shoulders. First one is just get the stability ball or the Swiss ball, whatever you want to call it. Make a fist. Again, knees under your hips, arm under your shoulder. You want your bicep, your shoulder right by your ear. And then again, actively push. So you want to push into the ball with a fist, and you also want to be actively pushing with your left hand too. You want to be actively pushing with both. 30 seconds is probably completely sufficient for your set or your rep for this particular exercise. And of course, you'll want to do it on both sides, okay? The other good shoulder stability. And this one's great for golf to prevent that chicken wing, keeping that back arm close to your body, okay? So you're gonna wanna put it below your elbows. And again, you want to actively push against it. You know, you can just bring your arms up and down, right? But we want to actively resist against it to get those muscles fired up. Bring it again, biceps up to your ears. Try to keep your shoulders down. You can see I was trying to do that. Try to keep those shoulders down. Ten to 12 reps, so that would be great. The other thing that I really like that I found is I'm gonna do a lightweight just to be a little bit wimpy here. Again, this is good for core. This is good for stability. Stand on one leg and do your upright row. This is good for your backswing. There was no name for this. Call it a one leg upright row. Flamingo upright row is what I decided to christen it in my head. And again, this would be like a typical strength exercise, probably 12 to 15 reps per set. Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys some rotational movements. This bar here is 15 pounds. You can definitely use it. I'm gonna use a wimpy lightweight stick to show you guys this exercise, but this would actually help a lot more with the strength, okay? So this is gonna help with bat speed and club speed. So you're gonna bring I'm gonna show it to you slow first. You're gonna bring your left knee up. You're gonna wanna plant your foot and you're going to turn at the same time, okay? But you wanna do it fast, okay? And again, I'm thinking about planting my heel and trying to keep good form there. You can see, again, I was already starting to go down a little bit. You want to practice doing it correctly in this setting. So, and you can go each side. 10 to 12 reps will probably be great. And again, with this, as you go with the heavier weight, you may even do less reps, and be really careful again, because this is something when you're doing any kind of rotational movement, keep that core tight, okay? Keep your glutes tight. It's all about protecting your lower back, okay? Other exercise, you can do this standing or kneeling like I am. Probably wanna get more of a split stance, but resist against the resistance band, again, and then open up. Here, let me do it on the other side so I can show you guys better. All right. So you're keeping your torso forward and opening up, freeing up your chest, shoulders, and again, this is all core, okay? Also, again, rotating. Have my arms at 90-90 and rotate against that. I think that I feel this more in my core than our traditional, a lot of us with the rope and going down, and I think it's perhaps because of a lot of us can't do that with perfect form. This is a controlled way for you to use really good form, contract those abs, okay? And you'll want to do each side, just twist, twist, keeping your hips square. And then a good old favorite of mine, all right, so center of your chest, come out a little bit further here, a little bit more resistance, out and in. I show this and do this exercise with I do it all the time. I show it to all my clients. It's one of those, it's deceptively hard. It looks like I'm not doing anything, but it never ceases to amaze me how much I can feel it throughout my entire core, from my lower abs all the way to underneath my chest. So that's a really Great exercise that I think is universal. Okay, so the other thing that you can use this bar for, over your back, you could obviously use your golf club with this one as well, but you know, gonna be more helpful to use some weight and some resistance and get better and better and stronger with it, okay? So you're gonna lean. The other key is to look to my left, hold for 10 seconds, so try to rotate a little bit more, and then back up. Same thing, lean, try to keep this hip square, try not to lunge into it, okay? Look, hold, and then back down. Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys a couple of agility type exercises. One of the main things that is a big injury that you hear about everywhere in every sport is MCL and ACL. I wanna specifically talk about you need to be practicing leaving the ground. So if you're a coach, if you're somebody who plays one of these sports, you need to be practicing not just when it's game time, you need to be actually practicing beforehand, leaving the ground. So, you know, we have some steps here. You can, you know, do any kind of step drills, but you can't just be, you know, working and doing strength exercises with your legs if you're not practicing leaving the ground. You know, jump squats. You can do the speed ladder. You can do where you're, you know, lunging, jumping from side to side, back and forth, and you want to do multi-directional movements so that your knees get used to that. And again, if that's too easy for you, grab a medicine ball, grab something with some weight on it. But again, you don't want your load to be more than your capacity. That's what injury prevention is all about, is that your load and your capacity are the same, that your load is not more than your capacity. That being said, I just had to have a quick little spiel about that because I think so many people don't actually practice leaving the ground. Jumping is not very popular, but if you want to prevent injury, and you got to do it. So lunging is very important in baseball as well. You're down, whether you're playing in the outfield, whether you're an actual catcher all the way down. But this is a good drill. You could start like middle of your outfield, go to your foul pole, and just lunge all the way there, okay? You can also do this drill within the speed ladder. You can have your resistance band there and work and go faster and faster and faster. You can also grab a medicine ball to make it even harder and faster and faster and faster all the way through so that you're just lunging and lunging and lunging. Another lunge that you can do, I'm gonna bring in my husband, Craig, here to show you guys this one. Let my resistance band drop. Get into a resisted lunge. So he's going to step out to the side. You can do just a regular lunge. This would be good for anybody in any sport to do a resisted lunge. But it's also a great drill for your pitchers too. Okay, so go ahead and show them like a pitching motion where you're stepping out. Okay, rotating your hips. Okay. Another good agility drill that I found specifically for baseball is I actually saw this particular drill done with a hurdle, but we've set up some resistance bands just end to end, got kind of creative and attached them together. A lunging motion, okay? You could use the Smith machine as well. We tried it out here and it worked pretty well using that as well. So if you're a coach and you're friends with the track coach, just grab a hurdle from the school and use that. So Craig, again, my husband's gonna show. I'm gonna throw him the ball and he's just gonna go side to side, okay? Again, you could also do this exercise with a medicine ball. I think it would be a really great football drill too, in my opinion. Ooh, and you don't wanna hit the resistance band, okay? And that's the point of learning it, is that you get used to staying low, going underneath the band, the bar, whatever you're using. Just any kind of setup where you can have yourself low and getting used to staying in that low lunge. Last agility drill I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna have Craig demonstrate it again. I actually spied Bryce Harper doing this before the home run derby, and so I was like, what is he doing? So I kind of looked it up and figured it out. Great rotational movement. So go ahead. So you're gonna get in front of, this is our landmine bar. It's right over here by our incline bench press. So go ahead. And you're gonna turn, okay? So he's starting in like a squat, and then you're going to try to turn as fast as you can. So yeah, again, it's kind of like that step that I had you guys doing, but this time you've got the bar using the weight, and he's going into a press. So it's a squat, a rotation, and a press. Good job, Craig. Okay, now I'm gonna get into a couple of strength exercises. I didn't get into a lot of strength because a lot of this is universal. Everybody's doing it anyway, but I think there's specific ones that I don't think people do enough, especially if you're playing these particular sports. If you want your knees not to be injured, you need to be doing squats and lunges and different variations of them and different directional movements of them. Everybody, no matter what sport you play, should be doing push-ups, pull-ups, squats, and lunges a lot, and well and correctly if you want to prevent injury. But I wanted to show you a couple. The first, especially to help with your hamstrings. If you want to prevent MCL, ACL injuries, don't want to have as many knee injuries, don't want to have as many lower back injuries, you need to have strong hamstrings. I say this from experience, okay? So a single leg deadlift, I'm using the golf club just for balance, okay? So you can obviously add weight, but you're gonna wanna go as far as you can where you feel it and back. And again, this is one of those exercises that you need to be careful. You don't wanna have, anterior, posterior tilt. Make sure that your hips are neutral. Think about tightening your core, tightening your back. But again, this is something that I think a lot of people neglect, okay? So you're just gonna hinge at your hips, okay? You can obviously ditch the club, you can use a weight, okay? But again, balance is always gonna be tied into core. I'm wearing my Chucks today. You wanna have a pretty flat foot. You could even ditch your shoes to make sure you got a good connection with the ground. Another good one is Bulgarian squat or split squat, depends on who you talk to, what they call it. The main thing is to jump out and make sure that your leg is far enough out there. I like to do this in the Smith machine. It feels more comfortable to me, but you can definitely do it on one of our benches there. You can do a flat foot. You can put your foot on top like this. You can put your foot down like that. I like to go all the way back and have my ankle even resting on it, okay? So make sure that you're far enough out that your knee isn't over your ankle or your toes, and up and down. And again, glute, hamstring, can always grab a weight. I just threw that other plate down, but again, can always grab a weight to make it even harder. And you're thinking about pushing through your heel. So those one leg movements, those isolated movements are going to be better at strengthening those muscles, okay? The other thing is grip strength. So we all know, like a traditional farmer's carry, that you would have, you can grab the heaviest weight that you can handle, 25 yards or so and back, okay? But kettlebell carry is even better because it's kind of unstable. So it makes you kind of think about holding that still so you can just hold that up, okay? The other thing is, this is a little bit light. I probably should have gotten heavier. I was just worried about trying to look cool for you guys, but good for wrist. Having your fists together, the kettlebell on your wrist, and hold. And the goal here is to work up to 2 minutes. And that's hard. I mean, I feel that through my shoulders, neck. Another grip strength exercise you can do is get 2 plates. You're gonna wanna pinch them together. And again, hold. So I've only got 5 pounds here, okay? But some of you guys can do probably 2 5-pound weights, 2 10-pound weights. And again, thinking about strengthening your wrist, forearms, and just hold. And it's not as easy as it looks, okay? So grip strength is really important. Wrist strength is really important in both golf and baseball. And last exercise I wanna show you guys, it's called wall angel. This is good for posture, so back, shoulders. This is a really good rehab exercise for shoulders as well. So you want to think about from your heels all the way up against the wall and hold. And again, you want to hold again, working up to a few minutes. You can also use this as an active strength exercise where you bring your arms up and down, almost like you're doing a overhead press, but keeping your arms against the wall. I'm trying to keep my scapulas against the wall as well, which is easier said than done, okay? So you can, again, do 12 to 15 reps of that, but even just holding is gonna be great for back, shoulders, posture exercise. All right, everybody, so we have a swing machine here. I think sometimes we see this machine sitting here and everybody's kind of intimidated, not quite sure how to use it. So Craig's gonna demonstrate how to use this. So if you have a right-handed swing, you'll notice it's pulled down on the left side, okay? So obviously if you're a left-handed swinger, you would start on the other side, okay? So he's gonna pull over. And then again, this is good for a rotational movement. That front arm is straight, back arm against his body. And you can change the resistance on this as well, okay? So any kind of rotational movement, as we know, and this is practicing your swing with the resistance. And see here, he's just doing it where you're working on your forearms, your wrist strength. Again, kind of going along with that grip strength that we were talking about earlier. Even though this is a quote unquote golf machine, you could definitely use this for your softball and baseball players as well, because again, it's a rotational movement. The other thing that you want to remember is even if you just swing right-handed, you need to be working both sides of your body. You don't want to create more muscle imbalances like I was talking about earlier. So he's going to feel a little bit probably more uncomfortable doing it lefty. I'm a lefty, so, but I don't have a great golf swing, so he's going to be better at showing that. But you don't want to create muscle imbalances, getting back to what I was talking about. Just because you're left-handed or right-handed and that's the way you always swing doesn't mean that you don't want to work the other side of your body. That's how, again, you're going to create injury, is if both sides of your body are not equally strong. All right, guys, so hope you learned a couple exercises that you can take with you. Some of these you may already do. Some of them you probably never tried. I hope you'll at least give those hip and shoulder stretches and strengthening exercises a try. If you've got some that you really like, make sure to tag the local gym on your Facebook or Instagram posts. Let us all know so that we can all share and keep learning together. All right, thanks.